If you're over 40 and you're doing yoga regularly, congratulations, you're doing something right. You're doing something absolutely wonderful for your body, for your mind, for your spirit. But I'm oftentimes asked the question, is yoga enough? Is yoga enough for you over the age of 40? And my answer to that is always going to be it depends. What are your goals? What are the things that you're working towards? What do you want your life to look like in 2 years, and 3 years, and 5 years, and 10, 20, even 30 years from now? What do you want things to look like? Because after the age of 40, the rules start to change. You're not just trying to stay flexible. You're trying to hold on to muscle. You're trying to hold on to your bone density. You're trying to hold on to your power. You're holding on to your metabolic health. And yoga is powerful, but it doesn't necessarily do everything for you. If you're this person who you're at a certain age and you're starting to think about what life is going to look like for you as you get older, yoga is not necessarily going to do everything that you're looking for. So in this video today, what I want to do is break down exactly what yoga does do for you after the age of 40, and then where strength training comes in and where strength training is a non-negotiable. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather, and on this channel, I make videos about yoga and fitness for people over 40. And I'm a yoga teacher. I am a transformation and performance coach. And I'm also a weightlifter bodybuilder. So I do the yoga and I do the weightlifting. So let's talk a little bit today about what yoga does and doesn't do for you and where strength training really starts to come in. We're going to talk about 5 different things here. The first is going to be muscle retention. So after the age of 40, even after the age of 30, we can really start to just naturally lose muscle. And so one goal for longevity or living a long, healthy, strong, powerful life is keeping the muscle that we already have. Okay. So that's muscle retention. Yoga is going to help build muscle endurance. You're going to do some isometric holds, which is going to help build some strength. So you think about, like, if you're doing yoga, you come into chair pose, your instructor has you hold it, you're questioning your life, you're holding it. Okay, those isometric holds really do help you to build strength. So you're putting some light tension on your muscles. That's going to help retain the muscle that you already have. With strength training, you're putting high tension on your muscles. You're really starting to work on your fast twitch fibers. And with strength training, you have the opportunity for progressive overload that you can challenge your muscles. So muscle's going to stay when it is challenged. We'll talk about progressive overload. That would be our third point that we're going to talk about. Next is bone density. As we get a little bit older in life, that is a concern for us, especially women. We want to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to A, keep our bones nice and strong, and B, what can we do to help build more bone density? Okay. So yoga is going to give a lot of body weight load. So you think about coming into something like a plank where you're pressing down into the earth, or you're coming back into chair, or you're holding a high lunge, something like this. You're using your body weight. You're loading your bones with your body weight. This is low impact. This does help build stability, helps to build balance, helps to build control. All of these things are great for us as we're getting older. But where we really want to add in the strength training here is that is really going to help with that, with building bone density, with keeping nice, strong, healthy bones. All right. So by putting on some heavy resistance, some mechanical stress, your bone is going to essentially adapt. Okay. So your bone is responding to that force, not necessarily the stretch. So your bone responds to the force that you get with strength training, with weightlifting, not necessarily the stretch that you get with yoga. Number 3, I mentioned earlier about progressive overload. So progressive overload is this idea of measured progression in your weights, in your reps, in your level of intensity of your workouts, of your strength training. And with yoga, you get a lot of repetition. It's a lot of flow, similar movement patterns. That's not to say it's not beneficial. It certainly is. With yoga, you might do some of the same flows. You might even go to a class where it's the same sequence every single time you go. So you're not necessarily getting that progressive overload. You're not getting that increase in weight. You're not getting the increase in reps or the increase in the intensity. But what you are getting is the improvement in your flexibility, in your mobility, in your balance, in your stability, in your control, in your breath control. There's a lot of benefits here around yoga. But when we're talking about progressive overload, weight training, strength training is really where we're going to see that. You can increase your weight. So you're lifting weights, you're doing overhead presses at 10 pounds. It becomes easy. So you bump it up to 12 pounds. Okay. A little bit easier to do that with weight training than with yoga. So increasing weights, increasing your reps, increasing your level of intensity. So if nothing increases, nothing adapts. So you want to have that ability to increase some of the movements here, so that your muscles, your bones, your soft tissues can adapt. Mobility and strength adaptation is an area that yoga and strength training really do work together extremely well. You've got this Venn diagram here that comes together where we've got yoga and mobility work, and then you've got strength training, and they come together and it helps to build something called resilience. All right. This is the ability to sort of just bounce back from things. So your mobility, your flexibility, that kind of work that you're getting in yoga is going to help expand the range of your joints. And then strength training is going to help you to build that ability to control those joints. Mobility without strength is loose, loosey goosey. And strength without mobility is stiff. You're like a tin man. All right. So if you're a weightlifter and you haven't been doing any mobility work, any yoga, you might feel just like super stiff. Your hips, you might walk a certain way. You're like, oh, my hips are stiff today. This is where yoga can really come in help with your flexibility and your mobility. These two work together extremely well. One important component of longevity and being a strong, healthy, fit person over the age of 40 is recovery. Okay. Recovery changes for us. It does. Okay. We're at a point in life where we've got stress, good and bad stress. Okay. We're at a point where our careers are really hitting like up the pinnacle. You're maybe not sleeping as well as you have in the past, especially if you're a woman that's going through some hormonal changes. The 2, 3 a.m. wake up calls, they are very real. They happen. So you might not be getting as good enough sleep as you had in the past. Alcohol starts impacting you a little bit differently. You don't sleep as well. You feel like shit the next day. You might even feel like shit for the next 2 days. So recovery after the age of 40 is something we really have to pay attention to. Man or woman, doesn't matter. You have to pay attention to it. With the stress that we have outside of the gym, you go to a yoga class, you go to the gym and you lift some weights, you might feel like super good and things, but what is happening in the other 22 to 23 hours a day? If you do an hour of yoga, an hour of weightlifting, what's happening in the other 22 to 23 hours a day? Okay. How are you managing that stress? How are you managing that, that stuff that just you have no control over, and how are you reacting to it? Okay. So we're talking about recovery in stress management and sleep. Okay. So yoga is going to help lower your systemic stress. It's active recovery. So there's some yoga classes, you might go to some of these yoga classes that are like, these are amazing for active recovery. It's slow, focused, controlled movement, creating some mobility, some flexibility, even some strength. Really, really, really great for active recovery. And it gives you your parasympathetic system sort of this nice little boost. When we're talking about strength training, it's high stimulus, puts a lot of stress on your body. It does require some good sleep. It requires good protein. All right. And it helps to build your physical capacity, helps to build your mental capacity. I would even argue that yoga helps to build your mental capacity as well. Okay. So the takeaway here is train hard, recover smarter. Okay. So we're training hard. We're still train like an athlete. Even if you're not an athlete, train like an athlete, train hard, be consistent, do the things, but then recovery. Recovery is part of the plan. It is 100% a part of the plan. So the recovery is, how are you managing your stress and getting good sleep? So we're talking about yoga and strength training after the age of 40. Those of you that are like this far in the video, you're interested in both yoga and weight training, you're probably thinking about this term longevity. And this has been floating around the internet for a little while now. It's sort of a big trend right now, but this is what a lot of people are really thinking about. Is you get to a certain age, you might be, in your mid to late 30s, mid to late 40s, even mid to late 50s. And you're starting to think about, what is my life going to look like 20, 30 years from now, even 40 years from now? What are things going to look like? You got to be doing the things now that you want to still be able to do when you're 60, 70 years old. I read a book, and, the person that wrote it put out there like, okay, you're 45 years old. What do you want to be doing when you're 70? You want to be kickboxing. You want to be hiking. You want to be doing the things. If you're not doing those things now, what makes you think you're going to be able to do them when you're 70? Okay. So do these things now so that when we get into our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond, you have the body that carries you through to be able to do the things that you still want to be able to do, whatever those might be. Okay. So when we bring yoga together with strength training, we've got longevity. You need both. I'm going to argue here that you need both. Clearly, I do both. This what this channel is dedicated to, is both yoga and strength training. But I'm a really big advocate for building both yoga and strength training into your fitness plan. Yoga builds mobility, balance, tissue tolerance, your breath control. Strength training helps to build your muscle, your bone density, helps give you power and gives you metabolic health. Having good, solid, lean, beautiful muscle really helps your metabolic health. That means you burn more calories just existing. Okay. When you're just laying around doing nothing, you burn more calories by just having more muscle. Okay. So I do have another video that I urge you to watch. It's really how to build a workout plan. Take a week. How do you build a plan of building in both yoga and strength training? You can check that video out. I hope you like this video. If you do, like the video, subscribe to my channel, send this video to somebody who you think might find it helpful, and go check out the other video on how to put together a yoga and strength training plan. Talk to you soon.